They say curiosity killed the cat. Sometimes digging too deep into secrets hidden in plain sight can bring consequences no one is ready for. And in this story, a quiet suburb's obsession with order and rules collided with federal investigators, exposing something no neighbor could have imagined. Imagine living in a picture-perfect neighborhood. The grass trimmed to perfection, the mailboxes all matching, the houses painted in identical shades of beige. On the surface, everything looks calm, peaceful, and ordinary. But beneath that surface, a tunnel system older than the neighborhood itself, a mysterious presence watching, and a homeowners association willing to risk everything to protect its version of normal. When the FBI arrives at your front door, not because of you, but because of what your HOA has been hiding beneath your feet, you realize you're living inside a story that feels more like a thriller than real life. This is not just about petty neighborhood disputes. This is about power, secrets, and the lengths people will go to keep the truth buried, literally. Suburbs have always been marketed as the safe haven of the American dream. Rows of identical houses, tree-lined streets, children playing without fear, and a sense of community that's supposed to feel unshakable. But underneath that postcard-perfect vision lies one of America's strangest and most polarizing forces, the HOA, or Homeowners Association. For some, the HOA is a blessing. It maintains property values, ensures clean streets, and prevents your neighbor from painting their house neon green. For others, the HOA is a nightmare, filled with power-hungry board members who micromanage every blade of grass, fine residents for trivial offenses, and thrive on secrecy and control. But what happens when that thirst for control collides with something far bigger? Is it something that even the federal government finds difficult to ignore? In today's story, we're diving deep into one of the most shocking, chilling, and unbelievable confrontations between a suburban HOA and the FBI. It's a tale of hidden tunnels, mysterious documents, coded messages, and meeting notes, and a quiet neighborhood suddenly thrust into the center of a federal investigation. This isn't fiction. It's based on accounts, documents, and the kind of whispers that never make it into official HOA newsletters. And the deeper we go, the stranger it becomes. Think about it. You move into your dream home, you pay your HOA dues, and you follow the rules. But then strange things start happening. Unmarked vans park at the edge of the subdivision at night. Your neighbor disappears without warning, their house quietly resold by the HOA within weeks. And one day you notice something strange in your own backyard. A patch of grass that never grows right. Soil that seems disturbed more often than you remember. This is where our story begins. It started with something small, something anyone else might have ignored. A homeowner named Daniel noticed that the ground in his backyard near the fence seemed to dip slightly every few months. Not enough to alarm the HOA landscapers, but enough that he had to refill the soil, or risk tripping over the uneven patch. Daniel wasn't paranoid by nature. He was a family man, a father of two who worked as an accountant and had moved into the subdivision precisely because it seemed safe, predictable, and quiet. But over time, the little things began to add up. First, he heard noises at night, dull thuds like something heavy moving underground. His wife brushed it off as construction somewhere nearby, but Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that it was closer, much closer. Then came the HOA notices. Out of nowhere, Daniel received multiple letters about his backyard landscaping not being in compliance. The strange part? He hadn't changed anything. The lawn was neat, the fence maintained, and the shrubs trimmed. The fines escalated quickly, and when he asked for clarification, the HOA board became oddly evasive. At the same time, other neighbors began whispering about odd occurrences. One family reported their dog constantly scratching and barking at the ground near their property line. Another mentioned seeing HOA board members walking behind homes late at night with flashlights, as if inspecting areas no one else was supposed to worry about. The neighborhood newsletter began including bizarre, coded messages. At least that's what Daniel thought they were. Phrases like, "The foundation remains strong," and "Do not disturb the lower levels," seemed out of place in a publication usually filled with reminders about trash pickup and summer block parties. By now, Daniel's curiosity was piqued. He started documenting everything, the sounds at night, the letters, and the strange HOA patrols. And when he casually asked one board member at a neighborhood barbecue about the ground issues, The man's reaction was chilling. His smile froze, his eyes darted to the other board members, and he quickly changed the subject. That was the first time Daniel felt something deeper was at play. One night he decided to test a theory. With a flashlight in hand, he went to the dipping patch of soil and started digging. Only a few feet down he hit something hardwood. Not rock, not pipe, but planks of wood forming what looked like the ceiling of an underground passage. His heart raced. This wasn't just poor landscaping. There was something below. Before he could investigate further, 2 HOA security vehicles pulled into his driveway. They weren't there for a routine patrol. Within minutes, he was being questioned about unauthorized property alterations. The timing was too perfect. Someone was watching. The confrontation ended with a formal warning, but the message was clear. Stop digging. Daniel didn't. Instead, he began reaching out quietly to neighbors he trusted. Together they shared stories, compared notes, and realized their experiences weren't isolated. Strange vibrations, sudden HOA fines, and unexplained disappearances of residents who'd once asked too many questions. The pieces of the puzzle started forming a disturbing picture. Something was hidden beneath the suburb, and the HOA would do anything to keep it secret. The final straw came when Daniel's family received a letter. Not a printed HOA notice, but a handwritten envelope slipped under their door. It contained only one line. They know you found the tunnel. When Daniel opened that letter, his hand shook. Who wrote it? A neighbor warning him, or the HOA itself sending a threat? He decided not to tell his wife immediately. Instead, he doubled down on investigating quietly. He started using a small camera at night, hiding it in his backyard. What he captured left him speechless. 2 HOA board members dressed in dark clothing, lifting a concealed hatch only yards from his property line and disappearing underground. The next morning, Daniel tried to confront one of them casually. The response? A blank stare followed by another fine, this time for leaving his trash cans visible too long. The fines were piling up, but Daniel realized they were more than punishment. They were warnings. Daniel wasn't the only one watching. Other neighbors who'd started asking questions were suddenly moved out. Their houses were resold, their mailboxes emptied overnight, and their names erased from the HOA roster as if they'd never lived there. Whispers spread. One neighbor had been visited by men claiming to be contractors, but their IDs didn't match any local business. Another was reportedly questioned late at night by unknown individuals. Daniel began keeping copies of every letter, every fine, and every suspicious note. He realized he might need evidence not just for himself, but for something bigger. At every HOA meeting, the board emphasized community harmony and avoiding disruptions. But Daniel noticed the meetings had unusual security, 2 men always at the door, carefully scanning anyone who entered, and then there were the notes. When residents asked about routine issues, the board often used strange phrases, "We must maintain the foundation," or "Certain matters are beyond discussion." Daniel began to suspect these were coded acknowledgments of the tunnels. Finally, Daniel decided he needed help. He anonymously contacted a local journalist, sharing small parts of the story. But before the journalist could dig deeper, they suddenly pulled out, citing outside pressure. That's when Daniel realized this went beyond the HOA. Within weeks, unmarked vehicles began appearing in the neighborhood again. This time they weren't HOA patrols, they were federal. The FBI had been monitoring quietly, tipped off by reports from other states of unusual HOA-controlled properties with hidden infrastructure. But the FBI wasn't ready to move yet. They needed proof. And Daniel was right in the middle. The HOA's tactics grew harsher. Daniel's wife was harassed for minor landscaping violations. His children were told they couldn't use the community pool because their family account was suspended. Friends began distancing themselves, afraid of being targeted too. Late one night, Daniel returned home to find his backyard dug up, the area around the tunnel entrance carefully recovered, as if to send a message, "We control this, not you." One evening, Daniel was approached outside his office, not by the HOA but by a federal agent. They knew he'd found something, and they needed him to keep documenting. The revelation floored him. The FBI had been investigating this HOA for months. They suspected the tunnels were being used not just for historical reasons, but for hidden storage, possibly even illegal operations. But here's the twist. The FBI believed the HOA board itself was actively obstructing them, keeping residents quiet and disguising activity underground as routine neighborhood maintenance. Daniel's role was no longer about curiosity. He was now a key witness. As tensions grew, Daniel's family began to notice they were being watched constantly. Drones hovered near their property. Strange clicks appeared on their phone calls. His wife begged him to stop, to drop everything for the safety of their children. But Daniel couldn't. He knew the truth was too important. And then, one night, he disappeared. His wife woke up to find the front door open, his phone left behind and the car still in the driveway. The only clue, a crumpled HOA violation notice on the kitchen counter, but across it, in faint handwriting, were 3 chilling words. He went below. Daniel's disappearance ignited chaos. His wife reported him missing, but the local police dragged their feet, claiming it's probably voluntary. Neighbors whispered but stayed silent, fearful of retribution. The FBI, however, saw this as the break they needed. They moved in quietly, surveilling the HOA board and setting up unmarked vans near the subdivision. 3 days later, in a daring nighttime raid, agents stormed several properties simultaneously. Neighbors woke up to flashing lights, helicopters overhead, and armed federal officers swarming the quiet streets. What they uncovered was shocking. Beneath the suburb stretched a network of tunnels dating back decades, originally built as part of an abandoned Cold War shelter system. But instead of being sealed, the tunnels had been taken over by the HOA. Inside, investigators found storage areas filled with unregistered documents, illegal caches, and signs of unauthorized surveillance equipment. More disturbingly, they found rooms set up like interrogation chambers, proof that residents who'd asked too many questions had been brought down here. And in one of those tunnels, weak but alive, they found Daniel. He had been held in a locked chamber, interrogated by HOA members who demanded to know what he'd told the FBI. The sight of him being carried out, pale and shaken but alive, became the defining image of the case. The fallout was massive. The entire HOA board was arrested and charged with obstruction, unlawful imprisonment, and multiple federal offenses. The neighborhood, once seen as a model of suburban perfection, became infamous overnight. For Daniel and his family, recovery was long. They moved away seeking anonymity and safety. But Daniel's testimony played a critical role in dismantling one of the strangest HOA conspiracies in American history. The tunnels were sealed, the houses resold, but the reputation of that suburb never recovered. For many, it became a cautionary tale that sometimes the places we think are safest hide the darkest secrets. And for Daniel, the lesson was clear. Sometimes speaking up isn't just about protecting yourself. It's about protecting everyone who's too afraid to. If this story shocked you as much as it shocked me, I want to hear your thoughts. Could something like this be happening in your neighborhood without anyone realizing it? Do you think HOAs sometimes cross the line between community management and dangerous control? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and if you want more stories like this, deep dives into the hidden, the dramatic, and the unbelievable, make sure to hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us keep uncovering the stories that most people would rather stay buried. Because sometimes, the truth isn't just stranger than fiction, it's scarier too.